Welcome to This Week in Tiger Athletics. I'm your host, Haley White, and joining me today is Ellie Ediger, an FHSU sophomore tennis player from McPherson. She was an ITA All-American Team Selection and is a member of the FHSU Student Athlete Advisory Committee. She won 2 matches in both singles and doubles action during the spring season. First off, thank you for joining me today.
Of course.
Let's talk a little bit about the spring season that just finished up. How did it go?
We had a lot of tough matches. The MIAA is very, very highly competitive for women's tennis, and we had an awesome team. We had 2 seniors that graduated that were going to miss a lot next year. Our record didn't end up quite how we wanted it to, but we worked very hard, and we're looking forward to getting a new GA next year and working even harder with some new freshmen coming in.
Awesome. You went 8-7 overall as a freshman last year in singles play. How was it jumping into the D2 level as a true freshman?
It was a big change that I had to adjust to, not just the sport of tennis, obviously, but just like mentally, just being in a situation where you're being pushed every day. But I really like that kind of atmosphere to be around, especially in practice, so I really enjoyed it, and I think I excel in that kind of atmosphere.
And to jump to this season, did you have any expectations going into the season for your sophomore year?
I was really excited because coming in as a freshman, obviously it's hard to know exactly what to expect. So I kind of understood what season would be like in the fall and eventually getting to conference season in the spring. But just really playing my role, whatever spot I played on the singles or doubles lineup, just kind of stepping up and playing that role.
And you came from a solid program in McPherson where you reached the state tournament every year during your high school career. What was it like playing at a high school like that?
Well, McPherson is awesome, and it's not even just in tennis. Like every single sport, like I've heard so many people from other schools, like they just kind of don't really like McPherson just because it's like a rival school for a lot of different places. But it's just very, very competitive, and everyone's families are very involved in their kids' sports, and so it's just everyone really pushes each other, and it's just like a real community of like athletes, I guess.
And you won a state doubles title in 2016. What was that feeling like to get that championship title?
Well, growing up, that was like my goal, other than obviously playing college athletics. But actually reaching that goal, I had been in the finals before, but finally winning, it was a big, I wouldn't say relief, but I was just like, it was a big proud moment, and it was kind of one of those things I got to check off, and it was one of my big goals growing up.
So did you always have goals of playing at the next level when you were in high school?
Yes, I kind of went back and forth of like where I wanted to play, what level, whether I did or not. I was really indecisive until probably my senior year. I decided that I really wanted to look at as many schools as I could and picked out Fort Hays as my favorite.
Were you surprised at how much time and effort it does actually take to be a college athlete?
Yeah, I would say especially during the off season, because that's what you don't really hear about, or that's not what you really see. But there's just so much time, like either in the weight room, getting up in the morning and conditioning, and even in the summer, the workouts we have to do, that it's really year-round no matter what sport you're in.
How hard was it adjusting to tennis on the collegiate level?
I would say, again, like growing up, I was always in a competitive environment. I hit with the older guys in my town, so I was used to kind of like being pushed and not necessarily always winning, and always kind of feeling like I needed to do better. So it wasn't a huge change of like mindset, but being with another group of 7, 8 girls that all have that same mindset is really refreshing, and I like being around it every day.
Was there a different change in speed of the game?
Yeah, definitely. From high school tennis, it's a completely different game. But I like learning like the different styles, and even just how individual tennis is. You still get a ton of different individual styles between opponents, but I've learned to adjust to it.
One of the things that Coach Flax looks for when recruiting players are those who can also excel on and off the court, meaning academics. You've been named the ITA All-Academic Team in the past, so how exciting is it to be recognized for both your academics as well as your athletics?
Well, it's huge, and it's nice to be recognized in both, because the sport of tennis, that's all you're seen as is a tennis player. In the classroom, you're just seeing as a student. So kind of like getting both of those sides of recognition is really cool. And I mean, that's the whole reason I'm here in the first place, is for my education. So it's nice for that too.
And how important is it to stay on track academically while competing in college?
It's huge, especially during conference season, because you just have to miss class so much, and as soon as you start getting behind, it can get really overwhelming really quick. So I've definitely learned some time management skills and keeping a planner up to date every single hour probably.
So what are your plans for the summer?
This summer I have an internship with a financial advisor back in McPherson, so I'm going to get a little exposure to that, and I'm really looking forward to that, and also I'm going to be playing tennis a lot too.
And lastly, what are some of your goals you've set for yourself for next season?
Next season, considering I'll be an upperclassman and we have 3 new girls coming in, it'll be different for me to fill the role as a leader being an upperclassman. So I think that's a big thing, is starting out the year strong, even though fall isn't our conference season, just being encouraging to those girls and really like setting up a good team atmosphere.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Ellie.
Thank you.
When we return, we will break down the rest of This Week in Athletics.
He often climbs to the 3rd floor of Rarick without taking a second breath. No matter when he submits his assignment to Blackboard, it is considered early, even if it is 5 days late. The line at Starbucks parts when he arrives. He considers the homecoming bonfire a small flame for s'mores. Every time he walks downtown, it's considered a march to Maine. His doodles on scrap paper are framed and hung in Rarick Hall. Once he parked in a 30-minute zone overnight, and the campus police left him a thank you note and a gift card.
I don't always party, but when I do, I register with SGA. Now party responsibly, my friends.
Welcome back to This Week in Tiger Athletics. Joining me now is FHSU SID Ryan Prickett, and he's going to help me break down the rest of the week in athletics. So after losing to Washburn and Hayes, Fort Hays baseball travels to Edmond to face UCO beginning Thursday, and they'll wrap the series up on Saturday.
Yeah, another tough weekend for Tiger baseball this last weekend. Lost 3 to Washburn University here at home. Friday night's contest, Pack the Park, was actually a really, really competitive contest. We actually had the lead in that game. It just slipped away from us later on when the bullpen couldn't quite close it down for us, but still had a chance to tie in the 9th inning. If we could have just had the ground ball that went straight to the shortstop get just a few feet right or left, basically, the guy from third would have scored on that play, but they cut down the runner at the plate. And so, it was a great night of baseball there. We had about 350 people in the park. It was a nice turnout, nice evening for baseball. Even though with the team struggling this year, it was nice to see that many fans out there. And, they played a good game that night, and, did some good things competitively against Washburn throughout that series, even though the other 2 games kind of got away from them a little bit. But, it's going to be another tough series this weekend at Central Oklahoma. Central Oklahoma's had a pretty good run here of recent times. So we just got to hope we can go down there and compete. And if you keep scratching and clawing and do the right things in key situations every now and then in baseball, softball, I mean, games can go your way every now and then, no matter what your record is. So we'll see what happens down there in Oklahoma this week.
And then after losing both to Emporia, the softball split the doubleheader with Washburn last weekend and will look to stay at home to face Newman Wednesday before traveling to Missouri over the weekend for 2 doubleheaders against Central Missouri and Southwest Baptist.
Yeah, softball, it was good that we got at least one win out of that road trip this last week. I was a little concerned going into that last game. They had lost the first 3 of the weekend, got swept by Emporia on the first day, and then Washburn, we had a lead. Actually, we had a lead in all 3 of those games that we wound up losing before we won the second game of the doubleheader at Washburn. But that's all about just finishing games. Made some critical errors at the wrong times in those games. I feel like our pitchers actually pitched very well throughout the majority of the weekend. It was just an error here and there that just gave that one extra base or two that turned into a run in a critical moment. Emporia snuck past us in the first game of the doubleheader, scored 2 in the bottom of the 7th to win that. I mean, we had a lead going into the last half inning. It's just we got to finish those games, and the ladies right now, they're 10-10 in the MIAA, sitting there basically tied for 7th. Lindenwood's 11-11, but both teams are 500, even though we got 2 less games played than them. But we're right there on the cut line to get in the MIAA tournament, and that's what the ladies need to be focusing on right now. Is yes, we have that doubleheader coming up against Newman here Wednesday afternoon here in Hayes, and that's non-conference. Next year it'll actually be a conference game. That Newman's coming into the conference next year, but so it's a good preview to get some games in against them. But obviously the focus this weekend is, we cannot slip down those standings any further, and we got about 3 teams sitting right there a game behind us that are all breathing down our necks. Now they do have some tough schedules ahead of them, all those teams behind us, but you can't just bank on the fact of thinking, well, they're going to go play the toughest team in the MIAA, or they got this team, we think they're going to lose both. You can't bank on that. So you have to go take care of your business, and hopefully the ladies will do that this weekend in Missouri, and at least be no worse than what position they're in this week. So because we're getting down to nitty-gritty time here to see who's all going to be going down to Edmond, Oklahoma for the MIAA tournament.
And to move on, Fort Hays Track and Field, they competed in the Loper Invitational, where 3 first-place finishes came from the women, with 1 first-place finish for the men's side, among many high placers. For the women, Abby Stewart claimed first in the 10,000 meters, Alexia Deicher in the javelin, and Summer Craigle in the high jump, while Reed Rome in the 5,000 meters.
Yes, another good weekend for our Tiger athletes up there at the Nebraska Kearney Invitational. Like Alexia and Summer both winning their events, doing really well there in both of those. They've had some high finishes in those events that they've done so far this year, the javelin and the high jump. Alexia continues to rank very high on the national performance list in the javelin. She's got a throw over 160 feet this year. She's kind of, I don't know if she's like per se shutting it down right now, but she's doing enough to win meets right now. But you don't want to overexert yourself and do something silly, get injured, right, something like that, because the way you qualify for nationals, once you put that one mark out there and you rank in a certain area on the national performance list, it's going to be pretty hard for people to come get her and knock her out of being able to go to nationals. So that's really kind of your focus is, even though, you do enough to win the event, but right now, she's definitely got the capability of throwing some big numbers, but I think she's going to probably be keeping that in the reserve before we get to MIAA championships and also the NCAA championships. So yeah, another great weekend for them. So.
And they will compete in the Brian Clay Invitational on Wednesday in Cali.
Yes, exactly. Athletes heading out to California, it's got to feel nice this time of year to get out there, hopefully to some sunny weather. It is warming up here in Hayes now finally, so that's kind of a nice change. But yeah, going out there, that's a premier event for even some Division I athletes and Division II. It's a big time meet out in California. So we're going to send some of our more elite athletes out there to try and compete and get those marks that they need to hopefully get themselves qualified for the NCAA championships at the end of the year.
And Tiger fans will get a chance to celebrate the 2018 and 19 basketball season with the women on Thursday at Robbins Center.
Yeah, over here on the campus of Fort Hays State University, where the FHSU Foundation is. If people are kind of lost to where that building is or haven't ever been there before, it's basically right across the parking lot from Gross Memorial Coliseum. So it's that nice building that sits over there to the north. So anyway, yeah, they're gonna have a little celebration in there for the women's basketball team's accomplishments this year. Obviously, tremendous year for the women, 32-2 overall. Make the regional final, host the NCAA regional. It was a special year, and it'll be a good opportunity for the Tiger fans to kind of come have some closure with the players and just kind of wrap all the season up. And there'll be a nice little highlight video, and Coach will say a few words too. So it's just we're inviting all the community out there to hopefully come partake in that. Ladies will be signing some autographs too. So it'll be a good time on Thursday night. So.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Ryan.
You're welcome.
That concludes this episode. Tune in next week for another episode of This Week in Tiger Athletics. To stay up to date on the latest news and information throughout the week, visit tigermedianet.com.